Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Growth Through Content Show, a show where we interview content marketing experts and marketing leaders and ask them how they use content marketing as an accelerator for their business growth. I'm Tanguy Verbelen from StoryChief, the all-in-one tool that helps B2B marketers and content agencies to grow their business through content marketing. And today we're joined by the Godfather of Martech. He's the founder and editor at chiefmartech.com, known for the yearly marketing technology landscape maps, mapping over 8,000 MarTech tools in its latest edition. He's also the founder of the MarTech Conference, the leading event for digital executives who want to learn and network at the intersection of marketing, technology, and management. He's also author of Hacking Marketing, Agile Practices to Make Marketing Smarter, Faster, and More Innovative. And if that wasn't enough already, he's in charge of the App Partner Program as VP of Platform Ecosystems at HubSpot since 2017. Welcome to the show, Scott Brinker.
Wow, thank you for that great introduction.
Yeah, I have to ask you, where do you find the time to do all those things?
Oh, goodness. Well, I don't have any other hobbies is what it comes down to. I'm pretty much all MarTech all the time. I'm a very uninteresting person, unless if you happen to be interested in MarTech.
Well, you made your hobby into your job, so I think you're living the dream, as would most people say. First of all, I want to congratulate you on HubSpot with its amazing milestone of 100,000 customers. 1 billion in annual recurring revenue. Is phenomenal growth over the last 15 years. Maybe for the people who don't know you yet, can you tell a bit more about yourself and your role at HubSpot?
Sure. Yeah. So my background has always kind of been at this intersection of marketing and technology, primarily as an entrepreneur. Like right before I joined HubSpot, I was the founder and CTO of a company called Ion Interactive that made a SaaS platform for interactive content, things like quizzes, assessment tools, calculators. And then, after that company got acquired, I ended up joining HubSpot. And yeah, really my mission in HubSpot is, it kind of grows out of that MarTech landscape is, people just have a tremendous variety of tools that they're plugging into their sales and marketing organization now, but one of the challenges you keep hearing from people is like, okay, well, I love this tool, and this other tool, but I need them to work together better, and so my mission in joining HubSpot was really to help HubSpot be a better platform to connect these solutions, and so I again, it is kind of like a dream job. I get to work with all these amazing companies that are creating specialist apps in marketing and sales and related capabilities and help them plug into HubSpot, and then promote their solutions to our customers.
Yeah, and who better to lead that mission than you? You have a lot of knowledge about what's going on in the MarTech world, how to enhance the platform through its ecosystem. How important has the platform ecosystem been for the growth that HubSpot has seen throughout the years?
Yeah, it's increasingly important. HubSpot, started out as a great marketing product, but it is over the years expanded to be a suite of, marketing tools and sales tools and customer service tools, but where we really see the company growing for the next, phase, the next stage is really as a true CRM platform, that is a foundational system of record, for managing customer data and interactions. But increasingly, the things that get exciting for customers, who are running the HubSpot as a CRM platform is not just what they get out of the box with HubSpot, but the ways in which they're able to plug in all their other favorite tools and get even more value out of them together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that we notice as well here at StoryChief. We're a content marketing platform, but a lot of people want to connect with the tools that they are already working with. How do you decide when an app or a service provider or a marketing tool can become a partner at HubSpot? What are the qualifications?
Yeah, I mean, I would say come on in. The water's great. Anyone can sign up for a free developer account, get a full enterprise developer portal. All the docs are there for the APIs and the ways you integrate. And then once you basically get an app integrated, all we ask for is that you have like at least 3 customers who are using it. So like you could think of them as your beta customers through the integration. Then you're invited to join the app marketplace, become an official app partner. And then, yeah, we work with you as you continue to grow, your footprint in the HubSpot ecosystem. And yeah, we're increasingly just always finding these opportunities where we can help promote and highlight, yeah, all the cool apps that people are integrating.
Yeah, for the people that are listening right now and are wondering if StoryChief is on the marketplace as well, we are. So we do integrate with HubSpot. I've heard from our sales team that is a strong selling point. So it's great to see that it works in both ways. But the integrations, as you mentioned, are becoming more important nowadays. People have different tech stacks that they're working with. As you mentioned before in a lot of interviews and in your book, marketing is becoming more and more technical. How do you look at that in this day and age? Because it's been growing as a technical profession throughout the years, right?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, marketing, I think more than almost any profession I can think of, has really gone through just cataclysmic changes over the past 20 years. I mean, definitely a lot of other professions had their profession, enhanced or evolved a certain amount with digital technologies. But with marketing, right, it was like entirely new channels, entirely new tactics. What are the strategies we do to like orchestrate this? Marketing 20 years ago was a very non-technical profession. People went into marketing because I don't want to go into like IT or anything like that. But now, yeah. It's not that every marketer needs to be super technical, but it is the case that marketing teams as a whole have become so dependent on these technologies to be able to execute, their strategy and operations. That first of all, you probably do need someone on the marketing team who understands that at a deeper level. But then you also need the rest of the team. They don't have to be the architects of the MarTech stack, but they have to be comfortable using these tools, as part of their day-to-day work. And I think one of the things that's exciting to me is when I see larger marketing organizations investing in like continual training and enablement, for their teams to help teach them how to take advantage of these latest capabilities.
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that before, like 20 years ago, people were going into marketing because it had nothing to do with IT. And in your book, there's this quote where you say modern marketing has more similarities with software development management than you might imagine. So what you actually saw as a trend is that the synergy between IT and marketing is becoming more and more important, and we see that today as me being a marketer myself. Where did you initially find that interest in marketing technology?
Yeah, so I think where it really sparked for me was in the early 2000s. I was running the technology team at a web development agency, and our agency would get hired by the marketing teams of these Fortune 500 companies, to build the website of their dreams. And then it would be my responsibility to go and talk to that company's IT team, to figure out, okay, how do we actually build this and integrate it with their systems? Because the marketing team and the IT team, at that client, they just didn't really speak to each other. And it wasn't even like about a hostility between them. It was more that they just lived in such separate worlds. They didn't understand each other. They didn't speak the same language. And so it ended up being that a lot of my role was this shuttle diplomacy, back and forth between the marketing team and the IT team, of companies. And that's where I got really fascinated by the fact that, yeah, these worlds had to come together. I mean, just what businesses needed to do as the world was going digital, they had to come together, but yeah, finding this new, almost like new emerging professional who felt comfortable with one foot in one world and one foot in another. That was the role I was playing, but I got very excited about the fact that you could start to see other people here and there with that same approach, and that's where we termed the phrase marketing technologist, which at the time everyone thought was like an oxymoron. Like, wait, what? What? These two things don't go together. But yeah, today we've got, literally, tens of thousands of marketing technologists in the world. And it's really cool to see.
True. And it's also something we see a lot with our customers, and as a content platform ourselves, like driving the conversation through content isn't enough anymore. You need to know about SEO, you need to know about social media algorithms, you need to know which tools you can use, which analytics to build on. You already mentioned that this evolution in terms of synergy between IT and marketing has created a new profession. What's your take on the evolution for the marketer profile?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are different. It's hard to have one kind of marketer that's great at everything. I think we do have a lot of generalist marketers who their primary mission is, whether it's demand generation or building, a brand for a series of, strategies and tactics there. I mean, there's still a lot of people who that's the primary work they do. It's wonderful work. Love it. But what you start to see is we now also have more specialists in the marketing department, right? We might have someone who's leading our marketing operations, and responsible for our, the processes and the marketing tech stack that's supporting that department. We might have a specialist who's, on the marketing analytics side, and bringing a little bit of data science savvy, to helping marketers, really get a deeper understanding of opportunities in their data. We also have, it's now not unusual to see marketing teams that also have developers on staff, typically for like, their website, or if they have a mobile app or something of that kind. But yeah, these are legit developers because marketing is building out these actual functional app-like touch points as a way to win customers and move them through the, buyer's journey.
Yeah, it's very interesting because you see that when I speak with a lot of marketers, there is this balance between being creative and being data-driven. And it's very sometimes challenging to find the right balance between those two. What's your take on that?
Yes, I agree. Although it's interesting, one of the things, I talked a bit about this in the book Hacking Marketing, is there's a bit of a stereotype that, marketers are the creative kinds and developers are the analytical kinds. But in practice, what actually happens is you have a whole bunch of marketers who are really super analytical about like identifying, what's working, what's not working. They take a very methodical approach to, what they're doing. I mean, companies like Procter and Gamble and some of those like big, consumer packaged good companies, like they really got this down to a science. At the same time, on the developer side, coming from the world of, being a software engineer myself, man, the best software engineers are some of the most creative people I've ever met because, right, it's not the typing of the code, which is where the magic happens. The magic happens where you see a problem and you're starting to figure out what are the creative ways we could solve that problem, and how do we do this elegantly and engage the user. Anyways, all that is kind of going on a rant to say that, yeah, I actually think there's more intertwining of creativity and analytical thinking across, the marketing spectrum, but.
Yeah, and it ties in with what you said. Like you have these specialist profiles, marketing teams being more, yeah, with a lot of, um, or what's the word, heterogeneous, like a lot
Yeah.
of different profiles that create a synergy where you become creative and data driven at the same time. I want to go back a little bit in time. You already mentioned this a little bit earlier when you started out with the technology, marketing technology landscape. That was 10 years ago, 2011. Um, what was the landscape like?
Yeah, I mean, at the time we thought it was huge. We put together that slide with around 150 companies, and we're like, oh my God, look at how big this thing is. And actually, that was the reason we put it together at the time. Is I was still trying to persuade senior marketing executives that because they were becoming so dependent on so many different kinds of technology for executing marketing in their organization, that they really should be thinking about hiring some more technical people to be a part of the marketing org. And so, yeah, the landscape really was intended almost just as a side exhibit to help, make that argument. But then, yeah, when we kept going back to it year over year to revise it, and it just started to grow exponentially. I mean, I wouldn't have predicted that. I was as surprised as anybody, by just how quickly and how massively, this whole space grew.
Because last year, 2020 was, I think, the last edition. There were 8,000 vendors. So in 10 years, yeah, you went from 150 vendors to 8,000, which is massive. Um, you probably get this question quite a lot, but how do people find the right tool to manage their processes? Because there are so many tools to pick out.
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's a few answers to it. I think one is you have to be okay with the fact that you can't evaluate all the tools out there, and so it's not so much about finding the theoretical perfect tool. It's much more about, okay, find a tool that does what you need and you like it and you like the company, and as you work with it, you're able to be really effective. The fact that theoretically there might have been other tools out there you could have chosen instead, it's not worth losing sleep over, because again, all these things, it's kind of like, it is just a tool. It is very much, what you're going to do with it, which is where the real work is. That being said, one piece of advice I give people, and I'm obviously biased, on this, but I still think it's true, is as the MarTech industry becomes more driven by ecosystems around these platforms, in many ways, I think that can help marketers. Like, whatever you choose as like the foundation of your MarTech stack, I'd like to hope it would be HubSpot, but you do have other choices out there too. But if it is HubSpot, let's say, then this is part of the point of why we orchestrate, the app marketplace for the partners who integrate to HubSpot, is so that a marketer doesn't have to go and search the big blue internet for any tool and then figure out will it integrate. They can almost start within our marketplace and be like, okay, I'm looking for a tool to be able to take my content marketing to the next level. What are the tools that I know integrate and work well with HubSpot? And now I've sort of narrowed my set down to, okay, maybe there's these two or three that I want to compare, more closely. So I think between those two things, I mean, it's, I appreciate it is a daunting array of tools out there in the world, but yeah, there are ways you can sort of narrow it down, and sleep at night.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially when you're looking for the right tool. There are a lot out there. How important is process? Because you said you have to find the tool that fits what you want to do, that looks good to you, that makes you want to use it. How important is setting up the process before the tool, or can you pick a tool and then create a process around it?
It depends. I usually think it works best when you have a particular objective in mind. You know, like, so for instance, one of the things I highly recommend, you know, all marketers to do is, in as much detail as possible, really map out your customer journey. Like, how are people discovering you? As they discover you, how do they go through different stages of, you know, evaluating you, deciding you, becoming a customer, and so on, you know? And in each one of those things, like, really try and understand as deeply as you can, what are the preferred ways the customer wants to get that, you know, next step done? You know, what are their expectations? You know, and as you start to map that out, where are things changing? Where do customers have new expectations? You know, and once you start to map that out and you're like, oh, you know, we have a gap here, or we need to be doing better at this stage of the journey, you know, then you're in a position to say, okay, now we know some of the things we want to do here. Let's start to evaluate tools that are going to be able to help us get the capabilities to really execute that in a world-class manner. You know, and then I kind of feel like, yeah, the relationship between the process and the tool, there is a bit of a dance there, because, you know, different tools will just operate in different ways that you'll want to adapt the process to. But I think it's really important to keep that clarity around, like, okay, what was the objective we were trying to solve here? We might discover all sorts of other things along the way, which is nice. That's wonderful serendipity. But, you know, let's make sure the core objective we were going after is getting fulfilled.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's really nice to hear that the customer journey is really the basis, because in the end, you're building a business around solving a problem for your customer, and making sure that the journey around that is yeah, as seamless as possible. Same goes with content marketing, solving people's problems, and then providing solutions. I'm preaching to the choir here. But looking forward a few years in time, there's this rise of no-code tools, tools that allow you to build apps or build websites without writing a line of script, a line of code. And what do you think that the impact of that will have on the MarTech industry? Are you expecting to see like even more marketing tech tools, or less, or more niche? What's your take on that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I definitely think we're going to see more tools for a while. Yeah, because even while consolidation keeps happening in the industry, there's just so much innovation happening now, and so many new startups. There's some incredible advances that are happening in artificial intelligence right now. You know, things like, I'm sure you've looked at like that GPT-3, you know, engine, and it's like, it's starting to even change like what's possible. And anytime those changes happen, that tends to trigger a wave of like new startups and new apps trying to take advantage of that. You know, so I think, yeah, there'll definitely be a lot more apps. The thing that makes me excited about the no-code movement is, you know, we were talking earlier about the different kinds of marketers. And I said, most marketers are, right, that sort of generalist, demand generation, brand building, super important work. But then they rely on a set of specialists, you know, who like, okay, well, when I actually need, you know, that website built, okay, I'll have our developers, you know, go and build it for us. And what ends up happening is these things become bottlenecks, you know, like, oh, if I want to actually analyze that campaign more deeply, I have to wait for our marketing analyst, you know, to get some time on his or her schedule to do that. And yeah, this is actually really constraining. I mean, there's a bunch of things that we don't do. Like we think about, we're like, boy, I'd like to do this. And then you're like, nah, it's going to cost too much. It'll take too long. I'll have to wait for someone. And we just don't even, you know, take it any further. And what excites me about these no-code tools is for a larger and larger set of things that we think of, we're like, well, actually, I can just do that myself. You know, I mean, again, not to say that we aren't going to need the experts. I mean, there's still always going to be these more advanced things that we want to do. There'll be plenty of work for the experts for a very long time. But it's almost like all of these other ideas that we were kind of throwing away just because it wasn't practical to, you know, have the experts do them. By empowering the generalist marketer to be able to experiment and try more of these things on their own, I think it's just going to unleash an incredible wave, you know, of productivity and creativity and just growth in the marketing industry.
That's really interesting. So what you're saying is that the generalist marketers will broaden their skill set, while the specialist marketers will actually deepen their skill set or go deeper into.
Very well said.
Yeah,
Yes. You
awesome.
said it far more eloquently and succinctly than I did.
No, you can have the quotes. I'll no, but talking about you touched a bit about on AI GPT-3. We had Kevin Indig on the show. He's the director of SEO at Shopify. Also talked a bit about AI machine learning, what that will do for specifically the content marketing industry. His take is that we're not at, so you have this doomsday scenario where robots are going to take over our jobs and people are going to be out of work. He doesn't see that. On the other hand, it's going to make a marketer's life more easy, and we're going to free up more time to become more productive. Does it tie a bit on with your future vision for the future, as you say, with how the skill sets will broaden or deepen?
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that view 100%. You know, in fact, some of the ways I'll talk to marketers about it is, let's face it, for a lot of marketers, they're still doing a lot of very low end manual work. You know, like when you actually dig into the tasks they have to do, you know, there's a lot of this like hard labor that frankly isn't very valuable labor. I mean, the valuable labor was coming up with the idea and what I wanted to do and connecting the strategies and the pieces, you know, but the, you know, typing away fingers on keyboard, can actually and not be a particularly productive use of time. And so it's really exciting that more and more of these tools with machine learning and AI, as they get better and better, they're very good at taking you know, these manual repetitive tasks, you know, and essentially automating them for us. And what that ultimately ends up doing is it's giving time back to the marketer, you know. And so I ask people like, okay, you know, if you had 2 more hours that just magically got added to your day, what would you do with it? Right? I mean, would you, you know, talk to more customers? Would you, you know, try some new experiment? Would you be trying to learn something new? Would you maybe take an hour and just sit back and think? Right? Like, how often in our, you know, crazy hectic days do we get a chance to even like step back and like, you know, let me think about this deeply. Let me not be like rushed. You know, I mean, this is like super valuable stuff for marketers. And I think, yeah, this next generation of AI and machine learning is going to give us that extra 2 hours in the day, and it's going to be up to us to put that time to some good use.
I love that answer. That's basically the same mindset that we had when our founders started out with StoryChief. They were like, yeah, all these content marketers are doing these processes that are very time consuming, that don't add value to the end product. Let's just create something that allows them to focus on the meaningful instead. Awesome. So Scott, we're about to wrap up the interview. Before I let you go back to your journey, to your day, sorry. Is there any advice that you would have for marketers in general, or content marketers for 2021? We're nearing the end of Q1 2021, so we still have 3 quarters to do a lot of work. But if there's one piece of advice that you would love to give marketers in general, what would it be?
Yeah, well, I think specifically this year, as we're coming out of, you know, the craziness, you know, that the pandemic is, the chaos that has been wreaked by this pandemic over the past year, you know, for better and worse, one of the things that happened was a lot of the old ways we used to work got disrupted and changed. We had to figure out new ways of working. We started to experiment with new tools, new ideas. I mean, if you were a marketer who was, you know, driving a bunch of leads through like in-person events, right? That world changed. You need to come up with new ways to do it, you know. And I think as we I'm actually so impressed with how so many companies and marketers were so creative and resilient, in this past year. My advice would be is as we come out of the pandemic, let's try not to lose some of that. Like this was a chance to sort of almost reset our thinking of what's possible. And like there was the old way we used to do things, but maybe there's a new way we can do things now too. Let's take advantage of this opportunity to sort of reset at the next level up.
That's awesome. I personally think that resilience is one of the superpowers of the human species. So if we can keep that creativity and bring our A game and bring it even to the next level, I think 2021 and the years that are going to follow will be spectacular. And hopefully people that are listening, the marketers that are listening, hopefully you can grow your company to 1 billion in ARR as HubSpot did. Maybe not in the upcoming year, but you still have 14 years after that. So no, awesome. Scott, thank you so much for being on the show, making time for this interview. If people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So my blog is chiefmartech.com without the H at the end. Long story there, another time. But also I'm at Chief Martech without the H at the end on Twitter too. So yeah, if you want to reach out and strike up a chat, happy to talk with you.
All right, awesome. And everybody that's watching, thank you for watching to the Growth Through Content show, which is powered by StoryChief, the all-in-one content marketing tool for B2B marketers and content agencies. And I'm your host, Danguido Belen, and I will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.